What's going on, friends? Today I'm going to be talking about my settings in New World Aeternum. While I'm streaming New World over on Twitch, or soon to be here on YouTube, we get a lot of questions about why my inventory looks the way it does, and how do we get the map to have colors on it, and how do we have our health and stamina and mana bar looking like this, my graphics options, etc, etc. So there's a particular aspect of New World you're interested in. Again, keybinds, life staff combat, video settings, etc. We're going to include timestamps, and that means you'll be able to scrub along in the video and find the relevant settings that you're interested in. If you just want to see the full shebang, then obviously you can watch the full video. But with that being said, let's kick off with our inventory. When you're in here, you can change a few options by going to filters. So just next to the search bar, you have filters. And from here, I like to change my columns from 2 to 1, and then we have this sort of nice wide inventory look. I just think aesthetically it looks more pleasing. While you're in here as well, you can restructure the way things appear. So for me, I like to have my potions and my food accessible because I use those very often, followed by my weapons and armor because I'm going to be switching through those. And then things like fishing and craft mods and stuff, I'm not really going to be doing too much with this stuff down here, so I have that further down the bottom. That's my priorities there. Whilst you're here, you can also use the sort by options. I usually set to sort by gear score. I find this to be quite useful if we go and do an expedition, or if we just open up some outpost rush boxes, etc, etc. We'll get a bunch of items, and having sort by gear score just shows you the number next to them, so you can sort through if there's a certain criteria. If you don't want to take stuff below 690, for example, this is going to be very handy with the upcoming Umbral Shard system, where you'll only be able to upgrade certain items. You can use this as a criteria to eliminate them. One of the feature, it's not really a setting, but I want to include it here, is using the lock and salvage all feature. So what I do after we're done with the dungeon is I like to hover over every item and check if we've got anything good. Again, if you're trying to determine what a good item is, I'll put a link to a video up in the top right there. But let's see, we've got a decent Warhammer, so I'd go ahead and lock that one by going to, so we just go here, and then we click lock. We have the keybind for it, and in my case, with mouse and keyboard, I hold down L, and then left click an item. Obviously you can do it with controller as well. Okay, so that's the items that I want to keep there, and then we're just going to hit salvage all on the rest of them, and that just quickly gets rid of them rather than doing it one by one. And we can do the same sort of job down here as well. So let's just check. We want to keep any of this stuff. Enchanted board anointed. Oh, we've already, that's one item that I have in my inventory. And no, it doesn't look like we got any keepers there, so then we just go ahead and salvage all. That can just save you a little bit of time as well when you've got your inventory open. One feature I get asked about pretty often is the colors on the map. So when you guys load up New World for the first time, if you're a relatively new or returning player, you open up your map, it's going to look like this. You don't have any faction colors on the map, but you can enable these if you so choose. You just need to go to the filters tab on the left here, and then right down at the bottom you have faction influence. And then you can see which areas are owned by the Marauders, the Covenant, and the Syndicate. This doesn't actually mean anything in terms of like you have to take part in PvP now, but it just, for me, it gives it a clearer boundaries as to where one territory ends and another one begins. And obviously there's a bunch of other options here. I don't think I've actually customized anything here in terms of what shows on the map and what doesn't, but these are my map settings for points of interest if you guys are interested. Now moving into the actual full-on settings, let's start with the game category. There's some ones that I recommend changing here. Camera shake is something I turn off. I just don't enjoy camera shake in any game, so always turn that off. Tilt-based camera zoom, this is off by default, I believe. This one can make a really big difference in PvP scenarios, and also in particular with the sandworm fight. So this is off by default, and what this means is when we tilt the camera down and look like this is how much I can currently see around me right now. So you can see, looking in that bottom right, we can see the edge of that wall, but we can't quite see that sort of torch over there. So if I point it all the way down, yeah, like we have to angle the sort of camera around to see that torch. But what I can do, if we go into those settings, and then we turn on tilt-based camera zoom, now we can see quite a lot more. Again, we have to tilt the camera down, but yeah, if we tilt the camera all the way down, now we can see that torch down in the bottom right very clearly. And again, this has huge implications. It's very, very useful in particular boss fights where you need to see more around you, particularly if you're playing the role of lights in Trial of the Devourer, but it can also help you see over walls and stuff in PvP scenarios as well, so very much recommend turning that one on. Once again, that's tilt-based camera zoom under the game options. I also like to turn off my vertical camera movement smoothing. I just want my camera to be completely on my control, so I don't like any smoothing and stuff like that. Gameplay options here, I don't think there's anything in particular worth noting. I like team color tinting, enemy team color tinting. I like the enemy to all be one color just to make it easier to identify who they are, but this is just a preference thing. I don't currently use any smart cast options, but it might be worth playing around with that to see if there's anything you guys enjoy. When it comes to mounts, mount following road is sometimes just kind of nice. You can set auto run going and then your mount will just follow a road. You can go AFK and it'll go pretty far for you. And then the big one here is HUD layout. Now this is going to be changing in Season 10. We're going to be able to fully customize our heads-up display. But right now you get the option with default where you have your stamina bar in the middle here and then your mana bar is sort of central and you can change things around. So currently I'm playing with side by side. I just think aesthetically that looks like the most pleasing, having it above my health bar there. So that's how we change that one. And while we're also in here, you can change where your health bar is in relation to the edge of the screen and stuff as well. So I scaled down my HUD. It's at 100 by default, but we scaled it down to 80. And then these are the current settings that I play with, just to move things a bit more central to the screen. Rather than having my health bar sort of all the way at the bottom down there, I like to bring it a little bit closer to my character so I can see my health bar and I can see my character and my abilities all, you know, very central. So again, these are the options for my heads-up display. Reticle options, I don't really play much with bow or musket, so we haven't really changed anything here. I like to turn show vitals values on so I can see how much stamina and mana I have exactly. You might find more joy changing floating damage numbers to stacked. It makes it easier to see how much damage you're putting out. Again, this is going to be a personal preference, but I've got it on floating right now for healing, but stacked is also quite neat. It looks a little bit better in my opinion. Play nameplate amount. This is something that resets all the time. It's usually set to 15 by default. I highly recommend turning this up if you're interested in PvP. Makes it a lot easier to see who's around you, who's an enemy and who's friendly. And I also like to turn on prioritize group nameplates, specifically as a healer using a life staff, seeing who's on your team, who's in your group that you can heal. That one's quite nice. Moving into our healing settings here. So targeted healing is on. Camera follows lock target is off. Camera aim retargeting is off. Sticky lock is off. Lock camera to target when healing is on. Swap enemy and ally target lock input with life staff on. Group mode off, and you can toggle this with a keybind. I recommend doing it, and then group only in raid is on. The big one here for me is the camera follows lock target. I really despise having this on. If we go ahead and put that on, and then we just switch over to a life staff build. Give me one sec, guys. And then I go ahead and try and heal somebody, my camera's kind of locked to where they are. And I just, again, I'm a big believer in having freedom over my own camera, so turning that one off is something that I strongly recommend doing. Again, just having the game take over your camera, I just don't think it's good. So if we turn that one off, like so, and then we can go ahead and heal somebody, and I can look around and see what's behind me while I'm still targeting that player. So that just works a lot better for me, having the freedom to look around without needing to worry about the camera locking on that particular target. A few of the settings down here, I don't think there's anything of particular note. Preferences, bandwidth mode, I've played around with this a lot over the years. Right now we're on medium. Some people say higher is going to be better for PvP and you get at least less desync. People will say lower is going to be better for melee combat, but yeah, this is what I'm currently playing with right now. I don't like those network icons popping up. I don't really know what they mean, and just having them pop up doesn't seem to help me anyway, so I turn those off. Also, perfect salvage. If you're salvaging a lot of items, you'll get like just stuff cluttering your screen, so I do turn that one off as well. For both keyboard and mouse and controller settings, I would strongly recommend using freeform movement. Also, camera direction for melee attacks is something I choose to turn on. Freeform movement is a big one because with this turned off, if you want to sort of turn around in a circle like this, you have to turn your camera with you. So if you want to run on the spot like this, you got to spin your camera around like a madman. Whereas if we go ahead and turn freeform movement on, like so, now you can kind of just run around on the spot like this without needing to turn the camera. So I find that one, I just prefer it. You can run towards your camera without needing to turn it all the time. And again, as we've talked about several times, I'm quite particular about my camera settings, so I feel like that makes this one easier. Also, the melee attacks falling where your camera is, I just like to, you know, you look at the enemy and then that's who you're going to attack. So if I want to attack that tree, we got to actually look at it. If I want to attack that player down there, I've got to look at them. Again, you can choose your own preference here, but this is what I'm currently playing with. You get a couple of options here when it comes to healing as well. Raid targeting via hotkeys, so you can cycle between different groups when you're in a raid. This can be handy in the Hive of Gorgons. If you're using a single target heal and you want to target a tank in one group or a healer in another group, you can do that. And having the hotkey tip reminder, I'd probably turn that off, to be honest. Camera options here, I don't think there's anything we change. Self-correcting camera, blah, blah, blah. I think these are all default. I don't really play with controller, but I'll show you guys my settings here. I don't actually know if anything is different from the default, but for those of you who are interested, these are my controller settings. But again, I almost exclusively play with mouse and keyboard here. When it comes to keyboard and mouse bindings, again, there is a lot of stuff that is just default here. One thing that I would strongly recommend you change when it comes to healing in particular is with your life staff combat. Now, frustratingly, you do not get this option with controller bindings. Whilst I think you can customize your own controller bindings to some extent here, right? Yeah, you can have custom bindings. One thing I don't think you get control over is this life staff combat and the ability to target party members. I strongly recommend that if you want to heal in New World and you want to heal seriously, do not use the wheel button to select your target. If you're healing and you're using this methodology, where I want to like pick a target and I use the scroll wheel between them, and you do that in particular with your party members, I just don't think it's a very effective way to heal. What you want to be doing instead is having keybinds for particular party members, like so. Target group member 1, target group member 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I use a Razer Naga, not a sponsor, but we have buttons on the side of my mouse, and I use these to select party members, and I found this to be very handy. Again, it doesn't have to be this brand of mouse, but I would suggest looking into an MMO mouse if you're playing with mouse and keyboard, and then setting up these target group member options. These are all bound to the side of my mouse, so that helps tremendously. And then having group mode, so you can toggle that off and on. So if you only want to heal people in your group, you toggle that on. And then you can toggle it back off if you want to heal people outside of your group as well. That can be handy in some situations. I don't think there's anything else specific in here when it comes to my keybinds sort of options, but I'm just going to scroll through here if you want to pause the video at any point. Again, I think a lot of these are the default, but just in case there's something I missed or something you're curious in, this is what we are currently playing with here. And then again, controller bindings. I don't really play with controller, so I'm afraid I can't really offer you guys anything in particular here. For video settings, this is what I'm currently rocking. Now, obviously, this is going to change depending on your graphics card. Obviously, again, sorry for my console players, but this is with PC. If you guys are wondering what specs I'm running in terms of, you know, CPU, GPU, RAM, etc., I'm going to include those in the description down below. But yeah, this is what we're currently playing with here. Something that I recommend you change on all platforms is your field of view, turning this big number 70 so you can see more around you. Again, I think that helps a lot in PvE and PvP. If you just care about the immersion though, if you're doing single player sort of story only, then, you know, play with whatever you like. But yeah, from a competitive aspect, field of view, cranking that up, I feel like that helps a lot. Interestingly, we do play with a lot of our graphics on low. My goal here when it comes to the graphics or the video settings is to achieve a nice, stable, consistent frame rate. It doesn't have to be like 120 or 240 or whatever. I just want a stable frame rate that's above 60. And these are the settings that I feel like currently achieve that for me with the rig that I currently have. Audio settings, I don't believe we have anything changed here out of the ordinary. Sometimes I play with music on, sometimes I play with it off. It depends when we're streaming, if I want to play music over on YouTube or Spotify or something like that. Boosting softer sounds is something that I've put on and then I've turned off over the years. Again, it seems to change quite a lot. Muting other people's musical instruments might be something you enjoy if you don't like people just ruining your ears when they miss all of the notes. Muting combat music is something I like to turn on. I just find a lot of the combat music in the game is a little bit, I don't know, stressful. There was also an issue in the first couple of years of the game where combat music would permanently be stuck on all the time. So yeah, this was a nice feature to have in to avoid that one there. And in terms of everything else, guys, it's going to be said, I don't think too much has changed here. I'm going to scroll through all of my sort of social settings. I do think there is one change over here, which is block company invites. If you don't want to accidentally leave your company and then end up in somebody else's company, I think this is a good one to turn on, especially if you're playing with a company where you have money in the treasury. If you're playing with a company size that's just you and you're using it as a way to deposit extra gold, then definitely make sure that you have block company invites turned on. Again, just so somebody can't accidentally snipe you and make you lose your company. That's a good one I recommend changing there. Accessibility, pretty sure nothing has changed in accessibility, but for the sake of the settings video, this is what we currently have on. Don't think there's anything of note in here about, I'm pretty sure there's nothing in there. And then finally, there is also your chat settings as well. With chat, you can go here, change some options. We may have changed something a long time ago when it comes to this screen, but this is what I'm currently playing with right now. And that hopefully does it for this video. I don't believe there's any settings that I missed. If there is, let me know in the description down below. Again, with Season 10 looming, with it being just around the corner for next month in October, we are going to have some more settings change when it comes to heads-up display, so we'll probably do an updated video for that one. But yeah, I've been playing New World for like the better part of 4 years and uploading videos on it, and it occurred to me we've never made a settings video, so whether this was useful or not, I guess we'll find out. Let me know if you guys have anything else regarding New World, if there's any other content that you don't currently see out there that you would like videos or updated videos on. Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to come watch the stream live and talk about my settings, I'll put a link to the stream in the description down below. We're shortly going to be going live on YouTube as well. But yeah, with that being said, if you guys enjoyed the video, go ahead, click the like button, subscribe for more, and I'll catch you guys all in the next video.